Hey, welcome everybody. Brian here from T-sportline. Today, I'm going to talk about our lift kit, specifically the Model Y, Model 3 Overland and Off-Road lift kit, and we have an updated new design. So let's dive right into it. Moving in here on our Model Y, this is the original lift kit front spacer for the front strut here, and this is the updated version. So a few things you're going to notice that are different. The original one is a little shorter, so we've increased the height. We've basically maxed it out. So the amount of lift you can get out of a spacer like this on the Model Y or Model 3 is limited by the geometry of the stock suspension. We had a little extra room to go with this new one, so we went from 1.8 up to 1.85. So you get about 50 thousandths extra lift on the new kit. That's why this one is a little bit taller. The other difference is that the original kit had a single bolt pattern, and you're gonna notice the new kit has two bolt patterns. We're gonna start by looking at an older Model Y. So this is what it looks like unless you have an Austin-built Model Y. First thing I wanna point out is this stud right here, that's the factory Tesla stud. It starts down here. This is the top of your front strut. So there's a stud here, and normally that stud would go through this piece and bolt on the top of the strut tower, but we have our spacer in here. So the stud goes through our spacer, and then there's a nut here to bolt that down. We provide this bolt up here, which comes from the other side of the strut tower through this bracket, and then tightens down into our lift kit. You're gonna see the second location here. This is the second bolt pattern. On the Austin vehicle, which I'm gonna show you in a minute, this stud from the factory Tesla is longer. So this stud on an Austin built car would run into this bolt on our old original design. The new design, since it's taller, is going to clear this bolt up here. However, if there's any build variation and this bolt or this stud is too long, that's why we provide the second location. And I'm going to show you in a minute how on an Austin built you have two options. You can either install it straight up like this, or you can rotate the top of the strut so that you can use the second bolt pattern. Here we have an Austin built Model Y strut assembly, and you can see how much taller this stud is. With our old lift kit, you can see the stud is so long that it extends up into this upper mounting hole. Now with our new design, this is much taller and there's clearance here. The top of the stud is not a problem for this upper mounting hole. If I were installing this, you would take the nuts and start them on all three studs before dropping this all the way down. And we would tighten this all the way down. And then when this is in the vehicle, we would come from the top side of the strut tower, through the Tesla, through the bracket, and this included bolt would be used to tighten this down. If the Tesla has any build variation and this stud is still too long, or your bolt is protruding through and running into that stud, we've designed this new version so that you can use this second bolt pattern for the other stud. And this could run all the way through and not run into this stud. If you're going to do that, we have to rotate the top of this strut so that this bolt hole is actually in this position, and this lower stud is going to rotate over. I'm going to show you how to do that now. To rotate the top of the strut here, we're going to use our spring compressor tool. You need to compress the spring so that we can rotate the top of this freely. If you tried to rotate the top of this without compressing the spring, you can't do it. This has already been set up in here, so with my safety gear on, I'm going to compress this. And you really only need to compress this far enough that you can rotate the top. Now that the spring is compressed, I can freely move this and the bottom moves very easily. One thing I want to do is make sure that the bottom stays seated against this bushing here. So just make sure that stays tight. We really don't want to mess with the bottom. On the top side, I know that I need to rotate this over here so that this bolt lines up with this stud. I'm going to hold this and just rotate that. It's not an exact perfect science, but it needs to be pretty close. And that's really all I need to do. So I'm going to double check and make sure that this is still down here and hasn't rotated out. And then we can release the spring pressure and we'll be ready to go. This is clocked. I'm going to go ahead and undo this. And that's ready to go in the car now. Now, if you rotated the top of the strut, it's going to look like that when you put it together. If you did not rotate the top of the strut, it'll look like that. So either one is acceptable, just make sure you have clearance to that upper bolt. Okay everybody, I hope this helped you with your installation of the T-Sportline Overland and Off-Road Lift Kit for Model Y and Model 3. Make sure you check out our full installation video to see how to put the rest of the kit on the car.